Hi, welcome to the second part of high-stakes testing mini-lectures. In this part, we will talk particularly about the pros and cons of high-stakes testing by exploring the well-known high-stakes policy in United States of America, No Child Left Behind. We will learn this issue by discussing a particular book entitled Collateral Damage, How High-Stakes Testing Corrupts America's School by Sharon L. Nichols and David C. Berliner, published in 2007 by Harvard Education Press. So, what is this policy all about? No Child Left Behind, or NCLB, is an educational act passed in 2001, which was later signed into law in January 2002 under the reign of President George Walker Bush. The policy was implemented for 13 years until it finally replaced by Every Student Succeeds Act under the reign of President Barack Obama. The main concern regarding the act was its concept of system of accountability. The policy demanded an annual evaluation of students, teachers, administrators, and schools on the basis of standardized test performance. This annual evaluation is the high-stakes testing. How significant was the policy for U.S. education? What were the implications or the consequences? What were the debates? And was there any hidden agenda regarding its implementation? Grab your popcorn, this is gonna be fun. The measurement result of high-stakes testing will be in the form of scores or grades, but how powerful this grade could be. We will focus on the impacts of bad grades for learners, teachers and administrators, and school. If you were a learner and you got bad grades, you might fail to go to the next level, have more time for yourself since you need to attend extra lessons, stay in your current school, graduate from high school, go to college, and get a scholarship. Of course, those who got good grades would just be fine. For teachers and administrators who have learners with bad grades, they might be reassigned, or worse, they could get fired. On the other hand, if learners got good grades, they might receive bonuses. Schools which learners failed high-stakes testing will be reconstituted as public charter or private schools, or simply closed, with the students reassigned elsewhere. These schools would also receive public accolades or a public scolding as a consequence of bad schools and district test scores. High-stakes testing scores can define your future. Can you see how powerful high-stakes testing is? With such life-altering consequences, were there any debates regarding the implementation of NCLB's high-stakes testing? Well, absolutely. I will provide 10 common topics which used to become the main motions of the debate. I will present under the subsection, Proponents Argue, Opponents Respond. First, the proponents believe that students work harder and learn more when they have to take high-stakes tests. According to the opponents, high-stakes testing reduces students' motivation and commitment to score higher and make them learn only what is on the high-stakes stage. While there were so many interesting subjects in school the student can explore, they were forced to focus on topics possibly integrated in the test the government designed. Second, the proponents believe that students will be motivated to do their best and score well on high-stakes tests. In reality, many states cheated, lowering the standard to avoid the consequences of bad scores. This makes the notion score well is debatable. In addition, learners knew that their teachers know what they can and cannot do. A test imposed from outside is just unfair. This awareness led them to demotivation. Third, the proponents believe that scoring will lead to feeling of success, while doing poorly leads to increased effort to learn. This is not always the case. Success might be attributed to learners' privileges, such as being born smart, rich, and lucky. Meanwhile, failure is attributed to low ability, bad luck, or teacher discrimination. In such competitive learning atmosphere, teachers would have the tendency to pay more attention to, for example, high intelligence students who could get good grades and eventually give them bonuses and raise the school's rating. How can this motivate them to learn? Fourth, the proponents believe that students and teachers need high-stakes tests to know what is important to teach and to learn. Well, in the US at that time, the curricula were designed based on what would emerge in the test. This is totally wrong. In designing curricula, knowing what is important to teach and learn is supposed to go first. This will later define the learning objectives. Test is included as the assessment to know whether or not the objectives are well achieved. The fifth motion. Teachers need to be held accountable through high-stakes tests to motivate them to teach better and push the lazy ones to work harder. However, the notion "the lazy ones" is often attributed to those with lower social classes, the less privileged one. And what was the government solution to these inequalities? Asking teachers to teach better and the students to work harder. This doesn't solve the problem. 6. High-stakes tests are good measures of the curricula taught in school. No, they must be kidding. The US is a large country with huge numbers of schools. There is no way one test designed by the government could cover the varieties of the implementation of the curriculum in every school. Now we go to the seventh motion. High-stakes tests provide a kind of level playing field, an equal opportunity for all students to demonstrate their knowledge and skill. Be careful with the notion equal opportunity, because in USA, the racism was so real. This causes inequalities for non-white, middle-class learners related to the quality of services and facilities in school. Number 8. The proponents believe that teachers use the result of high-stakes tests to help provide better instruction to students. First thing first, high-stakes testing is a summative test held at the end of the academic year. Teachers cannot use the result to provide better instruction if the students already moved to the higher level or maybe already entered a college. It is not relevant. The idea might work if high-stakes testing is a formative one instead of a summative. In addition, the follow-up of low score would be how to prepare better for the test, not for the teaching and learning process. There is a mismatch here. The ninth motion. The proponents believe that administrators use the result of tests to improve students' learning and to design professional development. Test result is only one of many considerations. There are other assessment resources such as learners' daily assignment, teachers' journal, staff's meeting, and etc. The last motion. Parents understand high-stakes test scores and can use them to interpret how well their child is doing in school. No, parents have no idea about why these scores mean proficient and why that score means less proficient. Even scholars, they cannot justify the relationship between the cutoff score and the implication. How can a single score define how good you are in many aspects now and later in your future? Now the next question would be why this policy could come to the policymaker's mind and later be implemented. This is where things get more interesting because we will talk about politics, particularly related to capitalism and white supremacy. There are 5 reasons which underlie the emergence and the implementation of NCLB policy. Now, the question would be why this policy could come to the policymaker's mind and later be implemented. This is where things get more interesting because we will talk about politics, particularly capitalism and white supremacy. There are 5 reasons which underlie the emergence and the implementation of NCLB policy. The first 2 is related to corporate-based education. In the system of corporate-based education, high-stakes testing can be said as a cheap way to force learners, teachers and administrators, and schools to work harder. Design a test, print, distribute them throughout the country, let the students fill them up, grade them with digital checker, and publish the score. The fear of the consequences of the bad grades becomes the one which do the work. Second, still related to corporate-based education, there was this belief assuming that the more educated the workforce, the better economy of the country would have. The higher level of education someone attains, the better the competencies would be. That is why people are so obsessed with attending college. High-stakes testing was designed based on this assumption and was aimed to prepare learners to enter college, particularly its science and engineering program. The third is related to the changing demographics. This is happening in every people's life in every country. Someone will get old, some babies will be born, and they grow up becoming the new young generation. However, the ones who rule the government were still the elders. There is this term called gerontocracy, meaning a government based on rule by old people. In America, they are usually white old people. These people tend to have this desire to fulfill their own interests. They want income and services. These old people may not want to spend much money on lazy and unappreciative youth, not to say the youth of color living in the US. It seems like the white elders cannot move on. Does it sound familiar to you? If the third is related to the elders, the fourth is related to the wealthy. Imagine this. Student A was born in a rich family. He got good grades because he have learning facilities and attended good school. Knowing the serious consequences of high-stakes testing bad score, his family facilitated him with tutors, books for practices, internet, and etc. Meanwhile, student B came from a poor family. Instead of hiring tutors, the money would be used for foods and bills. Later, if student B failed the test and got the consequences, people would simply say, "This is because you are lazy." Well, the rich people will stay rich and the poor will stay poor. The last reason is related to the culture. The US is a big fan of sport competition. Life is black and white, win and lose. That is what high-stakes testing is based on. Being succeed in tests means the winner, while failing means you are the loser. Teachers and schools whose students, a lot of students, not only 1 or 2 students, get good grades are winners, while the opposite are losers. Remember this quote from the internet? Everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Every learner should be a winner in their own path, not in one single path defined by people with power. I will close this part of mini lecture by drawing Campbell's law. It is said that the more any quantitative social indicator is used for social decision making, the more subject it will be to corruption pressures and the more apt it will be to distort and corrupt the social processes it was intended to monitor. In the case of high-stakes testing, the quantitative social indicator is the test scores. It is used to decide who is promoted and retained, who will receive degree and who will not, whether a school will be reconstituted, and which teacher will be fired or receive bonuses. Whereas the true purpose of assessment is actually the improvement of education quality. And for your reflection, you may think about this. As an assessment, do you think that high-stakes testing fulfill these requirements? Validity, reliability, practicality, authenticity, and positive washback? And under the paradigm of post-method pedagogy, do you think that high-stakes testing features particularity, practicality, and possibility? Leave your comment below. And for your reflection, you may think about this. As an assessment, do you think that high-stakes testing fulfill these requirements? Validity, reliability, practicality, authenticity, and positive washback. And under the paradigm of post-method pedagogy, do you think that high-stakes testing features particularity, practicality, and possibility? Leave your comment below.